So if you're watching this video, you've probably experienced imposter syndrome. It's really uncomfortable and can cause a lot of anxiety. So why am I saying it's a good thing? So imposter syndrome is this thing where you feel like you are unqualified to be where you are. You feel like everyone else around you knows what they're doing and you don't, and you're just kind of hanging with the crowd. It's a very unsettling feeling, and it's something that has haunted a lot of us. Many of us probably had it start when we were in college and we were amongst our peers and they were talking about personal projects they're doing and they sound like they know all of this stuff, and we feel like, well, we don't know all of this stuff, so obviously we are unqualified. This tends to move forward into the workplace, especially when you are new. And there's a few reasons for that. One is that everyone else around you may be more experienced, especially with the specifics of what you're working on. The thing about working in tech is you are working on sort of a standing structure. And when you show up, everybody else there is way more used to that structure than you are. You are just trying to learn. Now, this doesn't make you an imposter, this makes you a new person, which is perfectly okay. Now, it might take you longer than you think to get familiar with this structure. You may be years into it, and you still don't feel like you really know, and you also may feel like everybody else does. Now, this is one of the fallacies that we have when we work in this industry, is that everyone else around us knows exactly what they're doing. And there's sort of a little bit of a survivorship bias in this, which means, you're looking at what you can see, and you're seeing people talk about what they know. You're not hearing them talk about what they don't know because they're not going to talk about what they don't know. Now, to make this a little bit worse, unfortunately, is the fact that tech is so variable. You're going to be asked to do things that maybe nobody has ever exactly done. And you're going to be asked to do things that you have never done. And that is sort of a normal occurrence. Now, I can say imposter syndrome, it doesn't ever truly go away. So I'm sorry if that's, bad news to your ears, but the truth is it's always going to show up at times. But as you go through your career and you get good at something, imposter syndrome will tend to go away for that thing that you've become really good at. So if I write an application and then another application after that, and they're all sort of similar. I work doing ServiceNow development, so that's not all that uncommon. I do have, times where I'll look at a new application I want to do, and I'll not feel that imposter syndrome. I'll be like, hey, I'm pretty sure, yeah, I can put that together. It doesn't feel so bad to say that. It doesn't feel like I'm lying to anyone. And I've even gotten to the point where I'm like, I can go through my head exactly how I'm going to do this. Now, I will say, even though this is something that you may desire to get rid of this imposter syndrome, it's actually almost as bad. Because when you're writing applications where you can just think in your head, yeah, I'm going to do this, this, and that, all of a sudden what you're doing can become boring. And that is worse, I'd say, than imposter syndrome. So the good thing about imposter syndrome, the reason I'm saying that it is a good thing, is it is part of the improvement process. This idea that you have in your head that you are not qualified, which is a normal idea to have, even though at the time you may not feel like it is something that is going to make you better at whatever it is you're doing. I'll give you an example. I normally do ServiceNow development, which for me is basically JavaScript. It uses AngularJS and something called a service portal sometimes. It's complicated. You can watch some of my other videos if you want more information on that. But that is very different than a language like C#. And I was tasked, I was put as a developer on a C# project recently, and it is something I really wanted to do. Now, one thing I can say is if you're being put somewhere that you don't want to be, a lot of times imposter syndrome will turn into something a little different, which is a this is stupid feeling. I don't know this because it's stupid. And I'd say that's, probably worse for the people on the outside than imposter syndrome. But hopefully, if you're going to something new, as I was there, you want to do what you're doing. Hopefully, wherever you work, they are putting you on things that you want to do. And even me, that I feel very comfortable developing in my area, when I'm put on something that I want to do, and I really do want to do that, I really do like C#, and I've worked with it in the past, just never professionally until now, I'm going to be tempted to look at the people around me, think that they are more qualified than I am, and therefore I really shouldn't be here. Even though at the point that that had happened, I was, more than 2 years into my career and had already kind of gotten rid of that imposter syndrome for the stuff that I normally do. It's the combination of wanting to be there and feeling like, you don't know everything. That's what really gets to you. Now, the truth is, you never really know everything. And even if you work with the same type of stuff for a while, like in ServiceNow, for instance, I can still, with ServiceNow, be put in an area where I don't know what I need to do. That's a very unsettling feeling, especially when you have been working with something for longer, because then it's not just sort of imposter syndrome that you feel. You sort of start to question yourself, like, am I even competent? That I've been working with this for so long, and I'm still running into things that I don't know. But that's the thing about tech, and especially software development, is that there's just so much to it that nobody knows everything. Nobody knows close to everything. And most people have a good knowledge of a certain portion of what they're doing. And because software is the way it is just a matter of time until you're asked to do something that you don't know how to do. In fact, if you're going to work in any kind of tech, that's something that you do want to get used to, and if you can, embrace. Embrace what you don't know. That's how you get better, when you're asked to do something that you don't know. But this can feel weird, because you're going to have someone authoritative asking you to do something, or if you can do that thing. And if they're just asking you to do it, that might feel to you like, okay, yeah, I'll do it, thinking in your head, oh boy, I hope I can pull this off, which makes you feel like an imposter. And worse, if they're asking if you can do it, then you have to give an answer when you don't know the answer as to if you can do it. Now, there are some things that can help with this. Just having an overall good tech knowledge is helpful for the can you do it. You'll know if you can do something based on what you've seen other people do or heard of other people doing. For instance, if I want to write a program that turns off your webcam, just knowing that there are other programs out there that can do that means that it can be done. Now, that doesn't mean that it's practical, but it means that it at least can be done. Now, you might go digging and figure out that it's not super practical for you to do, and that's always a risk, but hey, at least you didn't lie when you said it can be done. Beyond that, if you're being asked to do things that you don't know, the biggest thing to realize is that is just a completely normal state of either software development or even just other types of tech jobs. That you may be being asked to do something specifically that hasn't been tried or hasn't been done before. That's because every system is very unique, and sometimes, in fact, a lot of times, the only way to figure out if you can do it or not is to set out to do it. And that might be scary because you're like, well, what if we get 3/4 of the way through the project, spend a lot of time and money, and then it turns out it can't be done? So this actually happens less often than you think. Usually you're paying attention while you're doing these things, and you'll pick up on red flags that might cause this to happen. And this is something that sort of happens unconsciously, but it does happen, and you will sort of move in that direction. Now, can this happen? Could you get in that situation where you go very far through and it turns out you hit a dead end? It is possible, and that's when you end up doing overtime. So that is an unfortunate risk, but part of being in tech is taking risks. Taking risks normally ends well when you do. Teaching yourself things ends well. And the truth is, all the time, things like this go poorly, and people will feel badly about that. But you walk away with more experience to help ensure that the next time it doesn't go so poorly. One of the best things that you can do if you are in a situation where you're asked to do something and you're very unsure is try to put together some kind of prototype that demonstrates basic functionality either in one piece or in different pieces. This will help you get confidence that you can do what you need to do, knowing that it's very possible you'll run into hurdles, and trust me, you will. So I hope this video helped you guys. If you're feeling imposter syndrome, I do want to let you know it's very common. I don't know anybody that has worked in tech that has not felt this feeling. It's totally normal. Don't let it bother you too much, and have a good night.